Hi there, Linda Nenne here. So today I want to talk about letting go of intense or difficult emotions or thoughts or just internal experiences. And the difference between trying to let go and actually allowing a natural letting go to happen. So what I've seen lately, or the past couple of years at least, and even further back than that, is that there are a lot of popular practices to sort of release emotional, pent-up emotions like anger. So for example, through shaking or screaming or hitting things on the floor or whatever it might be. But what I see and what I've noticed when I've engaged in those practices myself, that they're not actually getting into the depth of the internal sensation, but it's more of a superficial thing, that it's getting rid of the topmost layer of the, let's say, anger, so that one can feel sort of slightly more settled afterwards. And that is because there is a huge difference. There's a huge difference between making sound happen. So, for example, screaming to get rid of something, or shaking to get rid of something, and to actually let the internal sensation itself mobilize through movement and sound. So to sink into the internal experience and allow the body to be to open and empty itself out through sound or movement. And I have such a great example of this, and that is my 2-year-old. So let's say he gets really disappointed because he's not allowed to have a cookie for breakfast. So he asks for a cookie, and I lovingly say no. And I hold the boundary. No cookie for breakfast. And first he gets frustrated. He really wants that cookie. And as he notices that I'm going to hold the boundary, he starts to get angry, and he gets angrier and angrier. And as I continue to hold the boundary, it's like his body, that the depth of the sensation starts to arise, and that is actually disappointment. It's disappointment that is underneath that frustration and anger. Disappointment for not having his cookie, because he really wants his cookie. And that's when the tears starts to come. So and maybe the tears are a bit mixed with the frustration and the anger, and he might start to make some sounds as he's crying. And what usually happens in that moment is that at some point he wants to be held. He comes to me with his arms out, and he wants me to hold him. So I pick him up, and usually I just stand there, feeling my feet firmly planted, letting my body be open. I can feel his body is opening. He's crying, and gradually he starts to rest in. It's like his body and my body's openness or spaciousness starts to meet, and he's resting in towards me. And then the tears start to sort of fade away. And the last thing that happens is that he starts to make sounds. And I can sense how those sounds are really arising from the depth of whatever it is he's experiencing, and that the sounds are sort of the vibration of his internal experience is translated into sound, and he's emptying himself out. He's letting go, but not in a I don't want to feel this, but more a letting go of, it's like the body's natural ability to empty out the experience, which is completely different. It's a completely different experience and sensation and letting go than the one that I see happening a lot, where it's like, I feel something, I need to scream. Ah! So I just scream, but it's very shallow. Or I feel something and I need to shake it off. Instead of waiting, and there might be, like the sounds or the movements might be completely different than the ones that you can imagine with your mind. So it's really a paradox, this letting go of difficult thoughts or emotions. So usually the thoughts, as you probably know if you've listened to me or studied with me, is that the story follows the state. So the thoughts are really just a different vibration of the state that is happening in the body. So to let go, listen now, to let go, to really let go, is to sink into the experience, to sink into the depths of the experience, all the way to the bottom of the experience, and allow the experience to become an expression of movement or sound. And that is, if you try it, and you can try it with any experience, you can just try it in this moment. It can be something you're feeling in your hip or hip joint, or a tension somewhere, whatever sensations are in your body. It can even be when you have butterflies because you're excited, and just see how what it feels like to just really sink into that sensation, and then allow it to express itself. So it's actually like it's a feeling of becoming completely empty, like becoming an empty vessel for the next thing to flow through you. So shaking and screaming can be tools to use when you just need to take the edge off something, when you need to take the edge off something. But then afterwards, maybe see, okay, what is really happening in here, and how does that want to express itself? And it might be that afterwards, if you're more used to carrying things inside your body, just taking the edge off and then letting the rest of it sit in your body, this emptying out might actually give a unfamiliar or maybe strange sensation of being empty. But that emptiness is really an invitation for life to flow through you. And we don't exactly live in a culture that supports that, but we can change it. Together we can change it. I hope this was interesting, and maybe gave you something to play with in your life practice, whatever that is. And if you still feel, oh, I don't know, how do I even get into my body? So I have a free mini series that's called The One Taste, where I guide you through practices of getting comfortable, feeling safe, and getting comfortable, of tapping into the felt sense. So the felt sense, to tap into the deeper sensations of your body, and also to use that as together with orientation, to orient to your environment, to get sort of a fuller and more whole experience of being you. And all those three practices are sort of great doorways into befriending your internal experience, so that you can start to allow it to express itself. Okay, I think that was it. If you enjoy this, or if you try to do this practice, please leave a comment, or at least give me a thumbs up. Feedback is great, even though we're I'm talking to a camera, I'm still talking to you, and I love when there's something happening even in the virtual relationships. Okay, much love.